Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of the Ear Hustling Podcast. The name of this episode is Becoming Soleil, My Transgender Story. Eric, what's going on, sir?
Not too much, just real excited to get into today's episode. So everybody knows that I'm Eric. Everybody knows that you're James, but nobody knows who Soleil is and what her story is. So we're going to take care of that now.
That's exactly what we're here to do, and I've been excited about this show for a very long time. Actually, in all transparency, when we first started this show way back, 2-3 months ago, I reached out to Soleil and asked her, will she be on the show? And we finally was able to work it out, and here we are. So Soleil, welcome to the Ear Hustling Podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem. This is actually your second time on the show. The first time you were on the show, what was the topic? Religion. That's it. Yeah. Yep. It was on religion. So yeah. So welcome back. So definitely happy to have you here. So just real quick, just kind of want to give a little backstory. When I first met you, I've known you now. I was just telling you guys off air that I've known you too. The longest outside of my wife, out of pretty much everyone I know. I guess there's one other person, come to think of it, that I've known longer than both of you guys, both of you all. But Soleil, when I first met you, it was probably 95, 96-ish. Does that sound about right?
98.
98. Okay, I was in the ballpark. So met in 98, and when we first met, you weren't Soleil, you were Ryan. And we became really good friends. We met in church. We talked about some of everything, football, many fantasy football leagues, video games. I remember for any of our Detroit people, Soleil used to live in Detroit, was a West Sider. Was that Wyoming in 8 Mile?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Wyoming 8 Mile. I was 7 Mile in Hoover. I remember right around, I don't know if you remember this, Soleil, I remember right around 9/11, right after, as a matter of fact, I rode my bike over to your house for us to play video games. So that was my fat ass was on a bike riding all the way over to the west side and rode back. And we just played video games all day. So Soleil and I go back a long way. But once again, at that time, you weren't Soleil. You became Soleil, and I can't wait to hear your story. So right now, I want to turn the floor over to you and have you to kind of walk us through. We are going to jump in and ask some questions, so let the audience know. But Soleil, let's hear from you. How did you become Soleil? Who's Soleil? Where did it all start? Let's go.
Sure. So I've always been Soleil. I think Ryan was the alter ego. Soleil has always been there. So like my earliest memory as a child was praying to God that I didn't want to be a boy anymore. I wanted to be a girl. And I would go to sleep praying on my knees every night, and I would wake up the next morning and I would cry and be depressed and sad when I wasn't a girl. I have 3 older brothers. I always knew that there was just something different about me when I compare myself to them. I liked a lot of the things that they liked. I like sports, I like video games, I like wrestling and doing stuff like that, but I also like makeup. I like playing dress up. I like hanging out with the girls across the street and playing with Barbie dolls and playing house and being the mom and not the dad in the house game. So I knew very early on that something was different. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what transgender was. I didn't know what transitioning meant. I didn't know anything about hormones or anything like that. But I knew that, yeah.
Excuse me, Soleil, I want to jump in real quick. So when you say you liked playing mom instead of dad, when you were playing house, and first of all, how old were you when you were having these prayers, first of all?
I was 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. And when you realized you like playing house, but you like playing mom, did you actually play mom with your friends?
Yeah.
You did. So, what did you catch any slack from your friends playing mom at that time, or how did they react to you playing mom?
No, there wasn't any issues. That came later in
Mhm.
life, but I didn't experience anything at that age.
Okay. All right. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going,
Yeah,
please.
no problem. So, to sort of piggyback off of that question, so it was a few years later where you guys, y'all grew up in Detroit, so y'all are probably like me. I heard a lot of faggot, fag, queer, pussy, sissy. I heard a lot of those words. And again, I didn't really know what they were, but I know that when I heard it, it usually was making fun of somebody
Hmm.
for how they were acting, how they carried themselves. And so I didn't want that. So no, I didn't really catch any much slack um, playing house when I was young, but I would probably say 7, 8, 9, 10, when I was hearing those kinds of words, I sort of just retreated within myself. Like, okay, no more playing with Barbie dolls, no more doing this and doing that. Um, so I grew up really like admiring my mom. Um, I remember some of my earliest memories, watching her as she would get ready to go out on a date and the way that she, would do her makeup, how she would do her hair, how she would adorn her arms with bracelets or put earrings on or necklaces or whatever. I remember like the perfume that she wore, and I used to always think to myself like that's going to be me one day. I'm going to be, you know, preparing for a big date. It wasn't anything about sexuality or anything like that. It was okay. I just want to be a girl or a woman, and I want to wear that dress, and I want to wear that jewelry, and I want to go out on this date or whatever. So I would play in my mom's makeup. I would put on her clothes. I would wear her heels, or at least try to, because my feet were too small. And I remember I brought this up to one of my brothers last year, and he said they thought that it was just like a phase that I was going through, and it wasn't. It's the real deal. So from there, I would probably say I was hiding like some of my mom's clothes and makeup over the years growing up. And so when I had a free moment, I would like wear makeup, wear her clothes. I remember studying the mannerisms of women. Like if I was watching The Cosby Show and Felicia Rashad, I would watch how she just carried herself and her poise and her mannerisms and just the way she talked, her cadence, everything. I would watch newscasters, Sherry Margolis from, or Cindy Margot, or whatever her name is, from Channel 2 in Detroit. And then there was Carmen Harlan from Channel 4. And
Hmm.
I just saw these women as like they were just so poised and yet so womanly. Like I wanted to be that. So I would sort of monitor or emulate my behavior off of them. Different teachers that I had growing up and elementary school and middle school, I would do the same thing. Um, I
You
would
know, Slay,
say,
I'm going to jump in again. I'm
yeah,
sorry. One thing I think I want to do, I definitely want to hear your story, no doubt about that. But I think something that a lot of listeners, I know myself for certain, you and I have had this conversation. We're not educated on what transgender is. So if you don't mind, take a moment and explain what transgender is, because like you said, it's a lot of the derogatory names that's out there. And let's set that foundation as we continue to talk about your story, please.
yeah. So derogatory names, tranny, that's going to be the only time that I use that on this show. I don't even remember if I've ever used it before. So That's very derogatory. But to answer your question, transgender is someone who identifies as um, the gender opposite what they were assigned at birth. So in my case, um, I was assigned male at birth, and I identify as a female, as a woman. In a lot of cases, I would say most cases, there's some form of dysphoria that is associated with that. And what I mean by that, so some transgender women have a hatred towards their penis. Um, there's a lot of pain and anguish with that body part, but it's not always about genitalia. The public seems to focus on genitalia when it's really not about that. For me, it's not about genitalia. I'm perfectly happy and fine with my genitals. I'm 50-50 on if I'm going to get the surgery or not down there. But for me, I hated the masculine body. Um, I hated muscles. I hated the smell. I hated hair. I hated that I was so strong. All these masculine traits that um, I guess we wanted when we were younger. Like that's not what I wanted. I wanted a feminine build. I admire that more than my body. So I just had a very intense hatred growing up. So, you know, every day looking in the mirror as I was getting ready, I just really disliked myself. I hated myself. And I think the way that I carried myself reflected that hatred because I didn't really put much thought or effort or care into it. Like if I went to school bummy, if I went to church bummy, I didn't really care. Like I didn't want to put any effort into it. Now it's I'm different. So yeah, that was yeah. Go
So
ahead.
just to elaborate a little bit more, thank you for sharing that. Just elaborate a little more, something you educated me on, and I want to take this opportunity to educate others also. Being transgendered has absolutely nothing to do with sexuality. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Uh,
There's plenty of trans friends of mine, trans women who like women. Some like men. Some are trans lesbians. They like other lesbians. Some are pansexual. They are attracted to everyone, men, women, cross dressers, trans men, trans women, whatever.
so you're saying this, and it's funny. While doing some research for this show, at one point I saw ABC News had released a list of 58 genders that's there. You know, and here I am thinking, Eric, did you know there were at least 58 genders?
You know what? No, I'm just getting caught up to speed on three. So yeah, I'm anxious. These other 54. You said 57,
58.
58. Yeah, I'm
So
anxious to hear what the other 55 are.
I'm not gonna list them, you know, whatever. But there's 58 genders that have been at least identified. I'm not sure if there's any more since the article was released. So Soleil, you definitely educated me on that because, and you mentioned several of the genders that was listed on that list. I definitely encourage our audience members, Eric, you and I as well, to definitely do some research on the different genders that's just out there. It's not just male, female. There's a whole big world out there that extends beyond that. And Soleil, you definitely touched on a few of those. Once again, my apologies to jump in. Please continue.
No
Um,
worries.
Before you continue, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I've got a question. Actually, a couple of questions, but the first one is that you mentioned a lot of female role models. Were there any male role models that you had?
Yeah, I mean I looked up to my brothers. My father was murdered when I was 3, so I don't have any memories of him whatsoever. But from what I hear, he was a good man. Um, so my role models though were my older brothers. One was in the military and fought in Desert Storm. My oldest um, brother was just like all around incredible football player, and then like a nerd when it came to computers. And then my third brother was the same way. He played basketball. He taught me how to pretty much do everything because we're closer in age. So he was there in the house with me until I was 12. He was 18 and he moved on, but you know, he was very much a father figure. He, you know, taught me sports. He would referee some of my games. We used to wrestle, and you know, he was a great big brother. So those were like my biggest role models.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm sorry. Please continue. I won't interrupt at least for another couple of minutes.
Yeah, no
That's
problem.
not true.
That's no problem. So yeah, so now I'm in high school, so or in middle school, and so I think during that time, you know, my favorite time was like during the semester breaks, the winter breaks, summer breaks, where I knew that my mom was going to be gone. She would be at work. By that time, my brothers had all moved out, so I would be at home alone. And then I would sort of plan my day on being Soleil. I would dress in my mom's clothes and practice different makeup techniques. And again, I would watch different shows. I was really into soap operas, Days of Our Lives. I would just sort of model myself after these different women. There was one time that I kind of got caught, um, which not too many people know about, but so I had a whole drawer full of my mom's stuff, like clothes and jewelry and heels and makeup and like everything. And so one day she told me that she was going to clean my room, which was very unusual because I was of age to do it myself. Um, and so I was kind of worried because I didn't really have anywhere to put it, and I couldn't put it back into her room because she was in her room all day. So I went to school the next day, and I couldn't take it to school because I shared a locker with somebody. So I was really worried. It was a lot of stuff to the point where it's not like I could lie and say, oh, you know, maybe your panties just got mixed up in the laundry and, you know, put it in my drawer. No, it was like a whole wardrobe. And so the next day I went to school and I was worried about coming home, and I came home, made a beeline to my room, checked the drawer. It was empty. My bedroom was clean. And she never said anything about it. I was waiting for a talk. She never said anything about it. And so then I started to worry that, okay, maybe she's going to tell my brothers, and one of my brothers are going to want to have some kind of talk with me. But that never happened either. So I don't know. My mom, she passed when I was 19. So she's never seen Soleil at all. And so, you know, that's one of the things that I sort of, I wish I can answer, like, would she accept me? She always wanted a daughter. She had 3 boys. I'm the baby. She always wanted a girl, and she was going to name me Ryan, whether I was a boy or a girl. And yeah, so a few months ago, there was a friend of mine. She's also a mother herself. And I remember her saying that mothers know their children, right? And that my mom probably knew what was going on. And, you know, maybe she knew that I wasn't ready to talk about it. And I wasn't ready. Like, it took 40 years to get there. So, you know, I kind of hold that into my heart, hoping that, okay, I'm making her proud. I am the daughter that she never had, yada, yada. So anyway.
I'm sorry, I had a question.
Yeah.
After that day with the cleaning of the room,
Yeah.
was there any sort of a change in the relationship between you and your mom? Do you feel maybe you two got closer because she kept your secret?
You know, no, it wasn't that. Just the family dynamic. We're not very talkative. I'm more talkative now than I'm able to be myself. But I used to be very quiet anyway. My brothers are quiet. All of the wives of my brothers and myself, when I was married, would talk about how quiet we were. That's just how we were. I could go weeks without talking to my mom, unless she like needed me to go to the store or something like that. So our relationship didn't change because of the whole clothes thing. Um, she was just naturally, we just didn't talk. We didn't have heart to hearts or anything like that, until really maybe the last couple years of her life. When I went off to college and then she got sick, that's when our relationship really started to blossom a little bit more.
So my question, Soleil, is after she cleaned your room, did you re-up your supply?
No.
You didn't refill that drawer?
No, not at all. Yeah, I definitely, because, yeah, had I done that again and she caught it again, then certainly she would have known something was going on. So, no. So for a few years, I didn't, probably not until I went to college did I do anything. I did, I had a little allowance money, and I remember walking to a store like a mile away. I was on 8 Mile off of Wyoming, and I think I went to 8 Mile and what's that, Livernois, and there was a store there, and I walked up there and I saw, this was my first girly purchase. I bought this really bright orange lipstick and this like sky blue eyeliner, and I remember when I put it on the counter for the gentleman to ring me up. He said, "That isn't a crayon," and I just felt so embarrassed, like, "Oh no, you got me," kind of thing. But I paid for it. I immediately opened up the orange lipstick, and I looked great in orange. I don't know why I was drawn to that, but ever since then, like, I have a few orange lipsticks. I just look great in it with my skin tone, but y'all don't care about that. But I remember putting on the lipstick, and I started walking home. And then when a car drove by, then I would wipe it off or whatever. But yeah, I had that for a little while, and I hid that somewhere, like maybe in my Nintendo or something like that. So yeah, throughout the rest of middle school, high school, I didn't wear any clothes or anything. I would wear makeup. I don't know if any of my high school friends are watching this, but I did go to high school wearing wearing makeup. I remember wearing this very bad mascara, and we would play basketball like on lunch break or after, and I didn't know anything about um, uh, I can't even think of it. Whatever, like mascara that bleeds or
non-running
sweat proof.
mascara.
Sweat proof.
Okay.
So I would we'd play basketball. I'd play basketball with the guys, and my mascara is running down my face, and I'm wiping my face off, and I'm like, where's all this black stuff? And it didn't click that I'm wearing mascara, but nobody said anything, or nobody caught on, or maybe the sweat just totally took it out. But
dirty sweat.
yeah, but so yeah, I went to high school wearing makeup and stuff.
So what was that like, Soleil? What was it like going to school, middle school, high school, outwardly Ryan, inwardly Soleil? How did that feel to you, having to, not be your real self?
Yeah, I think the source of my depression and sadness and my introvertedness was because of that I couldn't be myself. I would look at girls all the time, and it wasn't like, oh, I want to, be your boyfriend, or I want to get with you kind of thing. It was like, okay, I'm liking that blouse. I'm liking those jeans. I like how you did your hair today. How did you do that with your eyeliner? I wonder what lipstick that is, what gloss. It was that kind of thing. And I didn't want to ask them because, you know, then that would be one thing. And so it was really torture for me, you know, for all those years, sort of having this secret, even until recently at work as an adult, you know, I would hear some of the female coworkers talk about, oh, I got this from Sephora, or I'm using this new palette, and like for me, it's like I'm using that palette too, or I'm using that product too, but I don't want you to know that. So
What I
yeah, it was.
want to point out, go ahead. I'm sorry, Soleil.
Well, I was just going to say it was a huge weight on my soul, not being able to talk about things that I really enjoy.
Right. What I really want to take a moment and point out, you know, once again, I've known you longer than Eric has known you, you know, and I'm sure there's maybe listeners out there who may know you longer than I've known you. But I want to point out something, and I've told you this before. I've never seen you more happier. You know, I truly haven't. You know, just watching you and listening to you talk about the orange lipstick and the blue eyeliner that you purchased. You know, you lit up talking about that. You know, and we've talked about video games and the new John Madden that came out or whatever, and you've never been as excited about the things that you talk about now. So it's wonderful for me as a friend of yours to see true happiness from you. So I do want to point that out, you know, to everyone, that I can definitely identify true happiness. So that's awesome.
And I echo this, I mean, I don't know if you saw me post something on Facebook, but you know what? Be yourself. You know, nobody's gonna live your life or live your story more than you. So as long as you're good with it, then that's all that really matters. Who really cares what anybody else thinks? So you've got minimum 2 supporters, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other people out there, you know, that support you. So, but we're gonna stop running our mouths because this is your show, this is your story. So we're gonna let you continue.
It's all good. So I guess now I'm in college, my freshman year. I didn't have a roommate, so that was like amazing because I could dress up again. I had a little bit of college money. I could go buy clothes and get my first wig, and really just try to formulate sort of an idea of what Soleil looks like. Um, because before, like the orange lipstick and the blue eyeliner, really, I mean, I could probably rock it, but like it's doesn't really go together. And then I didn't have any clothes to really match that, or my mom didn't. So like now I'm in college, and I can sort of put some thought into, okay, what is my style, like how to carry myself and what type of makeup looks that I'm going to have or what have you. But after my freshman year, the next couple of years, I did have a roommate. It was the same roommate. He would go home on the weekends. So yeah, it was just another routine. I was very much closeted. You know, I wasn't going out dressed as Soleil. I was just staying in the comfort of my dorm room. And it really wasn't until maybe after college, when I lived in Indiana for a few years, that I sort of started to go out. Like, and it really wasn't like going out. I would maybe drive in my car. And then I remember a time where I thought I was about to get pulled over by the police, and I was having a heart attack because the lights went on right behind me, but no, they were looking for somebody else. So I would just, my comfort zone expanded from just being at home or in a dorm room to now I can drive outside in my car. And if people saw me in my car, then that's fine because I'm never going to see them again. And I would never get caught. Amazingly, throughout this whole process, other than like that instance with my mom, I never ever got caught. And it wasn't until later where I really pretty much tried to get caught by my wife, and it still never happened. But I digress. I'll get to that.
So before you go on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and of course I know this because we have history. I know one of the reasons you moved to Indiana was a dating relationship. So
Yes.
when you were driving in your car, was this during the dating relationship? Was this marriage? What was this time frame?
Yeah, it was actually it was both. So yeah, with when I got engaged to that young woman, I I did have like, okay, this is going to be the last time because I'm getting married once and for all. You know, we're going to be married forever, and you know, maybe it just wear off. Like whatever this is, whatever I've been experiencing for 25 years at this point, maybe it takes being married to sort of just end that. Living with somebody and supporting them and them supporting me, and that's another thing. I kind of glad you brought it up because none of my I've been married twice. Um, None of my wives knew, and I never told them. Well, I told my second wife and now, but prior to us getting married, they didn't know. So back to the first marriage, I thought, okay, I'm going to put an end to this, and but that didn't happen. Like within like the first 3 months of our marriage, you know, Soleil was like, "Bitch, I'm coming." I'm coming. You gotta let me out. So, you know, I would buy my own stuff, and I probably over the years have probably spent several $1,000s on clothes and makeup and things, and then I would just throw it out because I would feel guilty um, that my wife didn't know. So I would buy something, and yeah, maybe I'll go for a ride in the car, and then I'll come home, and I'm like, why am I doing this to my wife? And then I would just throw it out. So I've spent a considerable amount of money on things that I don't have anymore.
But
Uh,
just to jump
yeah,
in there again, Soleil, and just listening to things you've shared, listening to what you share now, to me, what you're saying is you felt guilty because society tells you to. Society tells you you were born a man, you're married a woman, you're supposed to be in a man-woman relationship, but internally you're feeling something different. So you were feeling guilty not because that's truly how you felt, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's because of what society say, quote unquote, the normal is. Is that correct?
yeah, that's very correct. And so you met my first wife.
I did. You guys were at
We
my wedding.
That's true. We came up in the same church,
Mm-hmm.
very conservative. Um, this topic of transgender never came up, but certainly the belief would have been that it's wrong, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was just something that, and at that time I still didn't know what transgender was. But had I known, yeah, they would have said it was wrong, and they would have tried to, look at scripture, and what happened then.
Oh, yeah. Y'all, I won't say no names, but I could picture a couple of basements y'all would have been in having discipleship sessions and all. Yeah, I'm with you.
Right. So yeah. So I honestly, yeah, my first wife and I, we didn't have premarital sex. We had dated for like 3 years or 4 years or something like that. No premarital sex. We did everything by the Bible. Everything was right. So yeah, when that time came, I was willing to give it up. It lasted for like 3 months, and this kind of happened. We were married for 7 years. We got divorced for other reasons. And then, so for about 3 years, I was single. I mean, I was dating, but I had a couple girlfriends over that next 3 years. But yeah, I was back to it. I was doing my thing. Um, and then I met my second wife. And that relationship went really fast. We got engaged within 4 months, and we was married within 11 months. And yeah, that bitch Soleil just was just getting stronger and stronger. Um, and so then I started to go out publicly, like during this relationship. So it wasn't in Detroit. I would drive out to Ohio. I would go to Toledo, uh, like an hour away. So I would go out there fully dressed up. I would plan the whole day. I'm gonna go have lunch here, and I'm gonna go shopping, and I'm buying this. I'm gonna do this and do that. Um, because I didn't want to. I still didn't want to get caught. There was a fear of getting caught, but at least I could be myself out that way. And surprisingly, and when I did that a few times in Ohio. I never really got looks. I never got any bad comments. I never got threatened for sure. I was just able to be myself, right?
I have a question. Hate to
Yeah.
interrupt. Did you ever get approached in terms of somebody trying to like talk to you, get your number, have a date with you, escalate when you were out?
No, I was brutal back then. I was. I still have some of those pictures, and I've come a long way, and I'm still evolving, and I'm going to get better. But yeah, I was a brute. I used to joke that I was a nose tackle in a skirt. It was just hideous. I didn't know what I was really doing with my makeup. I thought it was cute, but so no, back then, no. I
And
wasn't.
just to reiterate, it's like all of the clothes, the makeup, all of that stuff wasn't as blended as it is now. So you basically were saying it was just the appearance was off.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely got clocked then, and I mean, I still get clocked sometimes today, but now, but like now I can go out and forget that I'm trans and go days or weeks or whatever without getting misgendered or getting a stare or anything like that. But back then, when I was actually going out, yeah, I was getting more looks. I hadn't, all the things that I had learned from what I had seen over the years, I hadn't put it together in the package yet. So.
Okay.
So yeah, I started going out like maybe once a quarter, going to in Ohio. Then we moved out here in Las Vegas, um, and then I was able to dress more just because of our schedules, how they were synced, and there was just more opportunities for me to. But I want to share this because it's pivotal. So when we moved here, or I moved here first, she moved a couple months later. But my first night here, I had totally planned out. There's a trans bar, or there was a trans bar here. All the employees are trans. It's the only bar of its kind here in Nevada. So I had did my research, and I had landed here at 7 o'clock at night. I got to my hotel, ate my food, got myself ready, and I hit the bar at like 11 o'clock. And I just saw these incredible, beautiful trans women, just powerful, like strong and courageous. And then I saw all these men who were buying all of us drinks, even me. I was the new girl. And yeah, I just really felt at home. Like, these are my people. And I was welcome too. Like, one of my friends, Adrian, she recognized that I was some new girl. And she sat and talked to me for a little bit, and just made me feel comfortable. And I just felt comfortable the entire night. Like, this is amazing. I looked really hot. I think some guy did try to talk to me, but it was just a great night. So a couple hours later was the first time that I went to church as myself. And that was a very powerful moment because like I mentioned earlier with the church that James and I belong to, it was ingrained in me, whether they said it or not, that I was doing something wrong. I didn't believe it. I had searched scriptures on myself, which they taught us to do. But I didn't really feel guilty by my own conviction. And I went to church and I was a hot mess. I didn't look as cute as I was the night before. I was tired. I was sleepy. My only wig that I had smelled like smoke. I wore this short black dress with these high heel boots. My makeup was heavy, like big dark red lips. I definitely looked like a prostitute. But when I went to church, I was welcome. I was loved. I was hugged. I, felt comfortable. I sang songs to God. Each song that I sang louder and louder because there was a confidence that came with that. Like, okay, I walked in here and God didn't strike me down. Okay, I sung 2 songs and I didn't get struck down. I'm good. And I remember just taking communion and I cried like heavy, heavy tears because for the first time, like in my life, I felt like God saw me in that moment. I had been a Christian for 18 years prior to that. God had used me in a lot of ways to help people, and I still have my faith. It's very strong today, even stronger now. And I didn't feel that the previous 18 years. And it was this moment where God sees me, and that sort of became my scripture. It's in Genesis 16:13, that says that the God who sees, and that's sort of been my motto. So yeah, going from there, so now let's just fast forward to sort of the moments that kind of really led me to make that decision. So I've already told you, Soleil has been coming. It started from being in the closet, then, maybe once a quarter going to Ohio, then maybe once a month getting a chance to go out. Then it was almost every day. I would get home before my wife. I would put on my clothes. I had a huge, and I still have it, like an army-sized duffel bag. It was filled with clothes, everything, right? It was just right there in my closet, and my wife could have walked in and took a look at it anytime. And like I said earlier, I kind of wanted to just get caught. And I would come home, put on my makeup, put on my clothes, go out into the streets, and just do normal stuff. Go to the movies, go to the restaurant, go to a bar, have drinks with friends, have sushi with friends. I didn't care who saw me. I didn't care if her coworkers or my coworkers or anybody. I have family here. I didn't care. Like, if they catch me, they catch me. They never call me. So I'm doing all of that. It's very exhausting having to rush to put makeup on before your wife gets home and then come home or sit in a parking lot, undress in your car, make sure you have your makeup removal wipes and everything, take off your makeup, make sure that you look like a guy again before you walk into the house. But that's what I had to do. And I was exhausted. I was tired.
So,
yeah.
The fact that you were married and you went through all of the, the trouble and the extremes of transforming from Soleil back to Ryan, did you ever feel any sort of, guilt? I think you alluded to it earlier, but the fact that she didn't know and that you weren't being true to yourself, in a sense, being true to her because she thought that you were Ryan as opposed to Soleil?
With my second wife, not so much. But with my first wife, there was some guilt there. And I'm not sure why there wasn't that guilt there with my second wife. Because I love her very much. I still love her now. I love her to this day. Yeah, there wasn't any guilt associated with that.
Okay. I'm sorry, please continue. Thank you.
Cool. So 2 moments that sort of really said, okay, you're going to transition. First, I met a young man named Simon. We had sushi together, me, him, and one of his employees. And during the dinner, he mentioned how he was going to start transitioning later on that week, and he was going to start hormones. And sorry about that. So he was telling me his story, and it was very similar to what I'm sharing with you. And this was the first time that I had met somebody exactly like me. Like all the other trans girls were a little different in that they started transitioning younger when they were in high school or whatever. But here I am, here he is. We're both older in life, married, have careers. Our struggles are going to be different than what some of my younger friends were. So anyway, he started transitioning and he became Samantha. And so I lived vicariously through her. She changed overnight. She was a lot more outgoing. She was happy. She was a superstar here in Las Vegas. She was at all the nightclubs partying, and her Facebook was lit, her Instagram was lit. She was traveling, she was doing all these different things. So for about the next year, I was following her. And she was doing really well. And then she committed suicide. She was married, had a kid. Her family fully supported her. Her wife supported her in the beginning, and then she didn't. And she bullied Samantha often. And Samantha was about to start a new relationship. They got divorced. Samantha was about to start a new relationship. She was really excited about it, happy about it. And then the ex-wife bullied her, and she took her gun and took her life. Wow. And I try not to focus on, the obvious negative in that she took her life. I try to focus on, like, for that year, she was flat out amazing. And I thought to myself, like, I don't want to live another 40 years, 50 years with a regret, not knowing, not truly living as myself. My life was fine. We were married, like, it wasn't a bad marriage. It was fine. It could have been better, but it certainly could have been worse. But I was happy being married. I was happy with where we were. But I just wanted to be myself and let the chips fall where they may. And then the next story, a couple months later, so at that moment, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to transition, but this is really what I want to do. A couple months later, I'm planning on going to Denver, Colorado, spend some time with a friend. Now, she knew that I was into, like, makeup and stuff. I had a year earlier sent her some of my makeup work that I've done in the past. So she knew I did makeup. She thought I did drag. She didn't know I was trans. But she wanted to have a girls' weekend. We were going to do shopping and go to a drag show and go to an auto show and go eat and go play in makeup. And for the whole weekend, I was going to be Soleil. And the first night that I got there, we bumped into a porn star that I have met quite a few times. And
how in the world did you meet a porn star quite a few times?
It's Vegas.
Well, that's true.
Well,
yeah.
I'll show you pictures, not on here, but there's on my old Facebook. Yeah, I posted everything. Anyway, so I got so many stories. Well, but this particular one, yeah, we have met a few times, but she never met me as this, right? So she was like, what's going on here? And it was the first time that I said I'm transitioning. And I caught myself, and my friend was right there, and she caught it, and I was like, wow, I actually said it. And so her and I, well, the porn star was very happy for me, obviously. And then, but my friend and I, we talked for like 3 hours afterwards, and I cried a lot because I knew that I knew that I was being honest and truthful about myself finally. But then at the same time, I knew I had to have this conversation with my wife. And I had to have this conversation with my family and with my friends and with my employers. And like now this huge weight is on my shoulder. Like, am I going to lose my job? Am I losing my family? Am I, all this other stuff. And so for, the next 8 months, I was trying to plot like, how do I tell my wife this? Because it's not something you just say, hey, honey, I'm transitioning. It just doesn't work that way. So those were like the two moments where I came to really realize when I said it, like, this is what I really am, that I am trans. And then from there, I met with a doctor and started the process of getting on hormones. And that was 2.5 years ago that I've been on this journey. So,
well, I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The hormones. I was wondering, how did that affect your mood? Did it make you more confident as Soleil? Did you have any mood swings, weight gain, anything of that nature?
Yeah, I've had all that. So, yeah, I've had hot flashes. I've had mood swings. Um, in the beginning, I actually lost weight, which is not normal. But now I'm gaining weight and I can't seem to lose it for the life of me. And that's just how it's going to be. Like, I'm going to gain weight. Um, uh, Positives, I have a little bit of boobies. Some of my fat is like moving, redistributing to my legs. So, I'm getting kind of a curvy figure going. My skin is a lot softer and lighter and clearer. Hair is growing. So those are the positives. The negatives with the hormones, besides the hot flashes, besides the mood swings, headaches sometime, there are other risks, blood clots, which I had a scare with last year. There are some things that are changing with my reproductive system, which is expected. Testicles shrinking, um, no ejaculation. And again, these are things that I knew going in, so it's not a shock. So yeah, my libido is next to nothing. So sex is more intimate kind of thing, more than before. It was just a physical, big and turbo mode kind of kind of situation. It's a lot more romantic, and I like it actually. So, but yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you, Soleil, in watching an episode of Transcendent, something you recommended I take a look at, they mentioned there that it was sometimes difficult to find trans-friendly doctors. What challenges, if any, did you find in looking for a trans-friendly doctor?
Yeah, so I had a doctor here, and I remember asking her when I started to want to transition. I asked her, "So, do you have any transgender patients?" And whatever. And she was like, "What's that?" So, luckily, here in Las Vegas, there are two doctors that focus and specialize in this type of care. So I go to one of them, um, and I wanted to mention this real quick. So when I when you go to the doctor to get care, at least here in Nevada, um, there isn't, you don't have to see a shrink beforehand like in some states. You don't have to be living as yourself for X amount of months like in some states. I just went to the doctor. I kind of told him this story that I'm telling you, and then he did some blood work and he put me on pills. It's not like that in other states. But one fascinating thing when I did my lab work was I always knew my testosterone was abnormally low compared to other men, but my estrogen was like 5 times the amount of what is in a typical man, a cisgender male. So I don't know if that has been the case like all of my life, if there was sort of this discrepancy there. And I don't know if that sort of has made me the way that I was growing up, but I just thought that was interesting that I had low testosterone, I had very high estrogen, and now being on the hormones, the goal is to get the testosterone down and then get the estrogen up to be at a level a cisgender female. And my last test back in June, at the end of June, I was there. So the treatment is working.
So when you had low testosterone and higher estrogen, let the record say that was before you started any sort of hormone medication, correct?
Yeah, that was before.
Interesting. Okay. All right. All right.
And was Vegas, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So was the decision to move to Vegas, did you kind of look at how the landscape was in terms of whether or not this would be, I guess, like a benefit? What led you to move to Vegas? I guess I should probably ask the question.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with it. My wife and I, we had decided at the beginning of our marriage, we would give it 3 years to have a baby or get pregnant, and if not, then we would look to move somewhere. We had, so that 3 years was coming up, and so we both were applying to different places, different jobs in other cities. I wanted to be somewhere warm. I can't do that Detroit winter anymore. So I wanted to be somewhere warm. Vegas was a place that I have family. There was family, my brother, my sister, my nephew on my father's side that I didn't know growing up. I met them in 2010. They live out here. And so it was like, well, if I get a job offer out here, I can kill two birds with one stone. I can get the job like we wanted, but then also I can sort of build a relationship with my siblings that I don't know. And so that really was the real reason. Now, the secondary benefit, yes, it's Las Vegas, it's Sin City. You come here, it's not Disneyland, you expect to see some things. So yeah, I did do some research and know that, okay, yeah, there's a trans population here, there's a LGBT population here, but that wasn't the primary reason for coming here.
Okay.
So Soleil, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Want to ask you something. Want to make sure we get a few things in, and I still want to hear more in the remainder of your story. Spoiler alert: you gave me some homework prior to this show, and you suggested that I watch an episode, and I appreciate so much you suggested Denim. Tell our audience a little bit about Denim, please, and I have a question in regards to it.
Yeah, it's a short story. It's about 15 minutes. I think it might be on Amazon Prime. It stars a young trans woman, a real life trans woman, and it's about being outed. It's about using the bathroom, which sort of became a hot topic these last few years. And so it's really about how you know, all she wanted to do was use the bathroom, and somebody in her high school took a picture of her, excuse me, took a picture of her and started to show people at the high school. And, you know, they don't have the right to do that. Like, whether lesbian, gay, bi, trans, like it's our story to tell, not somebody else's. So, but it's a short story. It's powerful, and I suggest everybody watch it.
It was a great story. It really was. And honestly, the young lady, her name is Michaela. My heart truly broke when she was outed, because, like you mentioned, it wasn't her time. She wasn't ready. It's her story to tell. Someone else took it upon themselves to tell that story. Have you ever experienced anything like that where you were outed prior to really being ready to even just one person?
My ex-wife, yes. um, so I told her at 1 o'clock in the morning. At the time, I didn't know this happened, but after the fact, you know, now I know. 1 o'clock in the morning, we're having this talk. I'm crying my eyes out. I'm emotional, and then we probably took a break at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Took a bathroom break, and unbeknownst to me, she was on the phone with some guy that I've never met, telling him my tea. And then later on that day, she told somebody else. And then later on, she told her family. And then she told somebody I went to high school with. And then that person told more people from my high school. And suddenly my Facebook is blowing up with friend requests from people that I haven't seen in 20 something years. So yeah, she outed me. We had agreed that it was my story to tell. And she obviously broke that before I was ready. Um, and I think during this process, if there was a time where I really thought about taking my life, it was during that, because I wasn't ready. And I I'm a planner. I'm very strategic in what I say and how I go about things. And so, you know, there would have been a better way for me to tell people and really educate them, because she didn't really understand. We had talked for months, and she just said, "Oh, so you just like to wear women's clothes?" Like, no, you don't get it. Like, I just spent 2 months explaining really has nothing to do with clothes, right? So she took that away from me, and I really wanted to end my life. And I was in therapy, and my therapist said, "Well, she did you a favor. Like, you don't have to talk to her dad now. You don't have to talk to her mom. Like, you could just now focus on how are you going to tell your family and get to that point." And when I thought about it in those terms, like half of the work done by her, and like the high school people, I don't talk to you anyway. You know, so I'm not gonna. Why would I be pressed by your thoughts of me, your judgment? So
Right. I'm so glad you didn't make that attempt. And not to make anything about me, but I just want to share, and you and I had this conversation when you told me about your transitioning. It was on the anniversary of when you probably saved my life. I've been open on this show where I've had some mental health, challenges, and March 16th, whatever year it was, is a day that you contacted folks, sounded the alarms in Detroit, and got people to come take a look at me. So it's interesting that you came to me and shared this part of your story on that particular day. So stop breathing like that, Soleil. uh all right, moving along. Eric, you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah, I did. Just going back to the situation with the bathroom first, that was like very terrible that somebody took that opportunity away from that person. So I'm very sad about that. But the question that I have for you is, there are a lot of countries in the world that has gender-friendly or unisex sort of bathrooms. Do you feel that the United States should adopt that policy and go away from the male-female public facilities and more to a neutral gender policy?
I think really it just boils down to education. I don't think so. Like logistically, some buildings may be able to add gender neutral bathrooms, excuse me, and some are older buildings and probably don't have that type of capability. So I'm not too concerned about having the gender neutral bathroom or having a policy or a gender neutral policy. It's just educating people that we're just like you. We just have to go to the bathroom. Somewhere along the line, just like athletes kneeling during the anthem, somewhere along the line that became, rather than kneeling for racial injustice or police brutality, it became kneeling against the flag, kneeling against the country. For trans people, it became, well, we just want to use the bathroom, but now it's, oh, they're going to attack our kids. They're going to molest our kids. They're perverts. They're this. And it's not that at all. So the narrative needs to change and go back to the original intent. We just need to use the bathroom. My hormones make me use the bathroom every hour. I have to use the bathroom now. I'm holding it as best as I can. But yeah, it's one of those things where I just have to use the bathroom. And to that point, at my job, I even though I had started transitioning, it took me a while to come out at work because of the bathroom issue. And it wasn't because I felt uncomfortable. I wanted all my coworkers to feel comfortable. One day I tell them, hey, I'm transitioning. And the next day they see me in a dress and see me in the bathroom. I don't know what people's religious leanings are, their affiliations or their religious beliefs or whatever. So I was thinking about other people. And so I didn't want to put them in an uncomfortable position. So before I could come out at work, I needed to have a gender neutral restroom at my work for them. So, okay, they see me as Soleil for a little while. And then as they get used to me, then I can sort of integrate into the bathroom. Well, the gender neutral bathroom, like within 2 weeks, it broke. I didn't break it, but it broke. And so I had to use the bathroom. And so I just started using it. And, to my knowledge, nobody has had any issues with it or whatever. But, it's just my nature to care about other people or to think about other people and where they're at. But really, it just boils down to education. 80% of Americans have never met a transgender person, yet they have this framework of what a transgender person is, that they're a pervert, that they're child molesters, that they're this, that they're that. They get this all from the media, and it's just not true. So no need for a policy, no need for the bathrooms, just educate yourself.
Okay. So speaking of bathroom, we're going to continue this bathroom conversation. Yeah. So when would you say it's appropriate to start using the other bathroom is one question. The other question I have, what was it like for you for the very first time walking in confidently into a woman's bathroom?
I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've used a men's room. I don't remember the first time that I went into a women's room. Yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. What was the first part of the question?
When is it appropriate to begin using the bath restroom?
Yeah, again, I think if you feel comfortable, you just have to do it. It's a bodily function. You have to do it. You're going to get looks. I've gotten looks sometimes out in public, stairs. Um, I remember one lady. I was in California and I went to a movie, and a lady and her daughter was in the restroom, and the mother quickly grabbed her daughter while I had to use the restroom. Um, so you just have to do it, and it's okay to be. Um, I'm just usually the type to always think about other people, but not all trans people are that way. We have to be bold and courageous just to live the lives that we live. So if there's a trans person that's watching this or considering it, like, you just have to do it. And, just focus on what you're in there to do and not make anybody uncomfortable. I had a friend, one of the first people that I told, I thought she was a perfect person for me to tell that I was transitioning. She's very liberal, very progressive. And she was like, okay, that's cool. And then a couple of weeks later, she posted on Facebook, oh my God, like, this transgender just washed their hands in the bathroom. And she was freaking out over that. I'm like, they're just washing their hands. Like, do you see how ridiculous you are being and treating this person? And all they're doing is washing their hands. Why are you flipping out? So again, education, and for people that are transitioning or about to, you need to be bold and courageous in every aspect of your life, and the bathroom is one of them.
Awesome. So Soleil, at this time, I'm going to have to give you an invitation. I'll give this. We've reached a crossroad in the show. You mentioned that we have. You mentioned that you're holding it. I do not want you to be uncomfortable. Eric and I have a ton of other questions. We can continue on, or we can say time out. You run to the restroom. We could bring it back part 2. Because I'm really you sure? Yeah. Because I can't do cleanup in Vegas. That's too far away.
I know how it is to have to sit in there and hold it, but you know what? You've got a very captivating story, and we appreciate you taking the time. But man, I'm not a firm believer in holding it until the point where I do the dance. So I do understand if you want to go take a quick break.
Yeah, if you start shimmying and stuff, we know. Okay, all right. Question I have for you: have you ever felt felt unsafe as a woman?
Yeah, like all the time. I'm very aware of my surroundings, when I go out, where I go out, who's staring, who's making a move towards me. I always have an exit strategy wherever I go. Excuse me. Sadly, there's a lot of violence towards trans people, trans men and women, particularly Black trans women. And so I'm very aware of what's going on, particularly, places that I've never been before. I have to put a lot of thought into going there. Some mornings, some days, I think I mentioned this earlier, I don't even realize that I'm trans and I just go somewhere and I'm good. But there's other times where I just have this eerie feeling. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want to be a statistic. And, I travel. I like to travel a lot. I do a lot of research and planning when I travel. When I went to Miami last year, I did that. And, there was a trans girl that got murdered there right before my trip. And so I was really freaking out about going out there because I was going to be by myself. And the same thing when I went to Amsterdam, although that's a very trans-friendly place, I was still nervous about that. So, but yeah, I have to think about it because I need to protect myself. You don't know what people are going to want to do. I haven't experienced any physical violence, but I've experienced verbal things, my space being invaded, etc.
Is there a certain group of people that you find to be more critical of the transgender community?
Probably our own, well, African Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, the majority of the trans women who are murdered by someone they know, an African American, and a lot of times it's a male. There's men out there who are attracted to trans women, but if they get outed, and trans girls shouldn't do that, for one, but if they get outed by anybody, um, or they may just feel guilty altogether, they may feel the need to eliminate the source of that guilt. And so, yeah, I think it's African Americans. I think just in our families, in our communities, there's a toxic masculinity that we've been brought up with. That, oh, you can't be effeminate. You need to look hard. You need to, display all these different traits. And it's that very community that's really killing us. Caucasian people will stare. They'll keep their comments to themselves most times. But I've found that it's been African Americans who turned on me. If a guy talks to me and I reject his efforts, suddenly at first it was, oh, you're so beautiful. Oh, I didn't even know you were a trans girl. And then it's like, no, I'm not interested in you, dude. And it's like, oh, you're a effing T word that I said I wasn't gonna say again,
Mm-hmm.
or you're ugly, or yada yada. And I also get that from African American women too. There was a young lady that before we're friends, and she was oh, you're so beautiful, you look good, you're this, you're that. And then when there was this guy that was showing me interest and not her, oh, you're pretty for a T word. So yeah, I get that more from African Americans than I do others.
So I have a challenge to our people, and I talked this over, had this conversation, and I really expected you to say that. To be honest with you, and my challenge to our people is simple. We've been minimized. We've been profiled. We've been uh, whatever you want to call it. We've been the victim. We've been on the receiving end of that for so many years. We know what it's like. Everything you just described as far as being aware of your surroundings and all that. I live in the South. A few years ago, Shan and I lived in the suburbs, and we've had many conversations. Just 30, 40 years ago, we couldn't be where we were living, as a young Black couple. We just couldn't be there, and times have changed, and now we can. But back then, Black people were being aware of their surroundings, and they couldn't be out past dark in certain places, and heck, probably still now today. My challenge to the Black community is, why put another group of people through that? Whether it's a racial thing, whether it's a gender thing, whatever it is, my challenge is, why do that to another group of people? And we shouldn't, because we know what it's like to be discriminated against. We know what it's like to be made to feel less than. Why do that to other people, no matter what they are? And when I say what they are, meaning, whether it's once again a racial, why treat a white person that way, a Hispanic that way, or someone in the LGBTQ community. I don't understand it, and I wish we really can change that. But it goes back to education, like you've said several times.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, any sort of ism, whether it's racism, whether it's sexism, whether it's any sort of ism, that's basically it's a separation. Um, when it all boils down to it, you know what? We all are human, and we all want to have like some sort of a acceptance and feel some sort of a
Yep.
unity, really, to everybody. And all of this separation and whatever the separation is, you know what? Everybody is entitled to do what they want to do. You know, free speech. You know, all people are created equal. You know, all of that stuff. It's great until it differs from someone's norm.
Yep.
So the thing about it is that in a world of like 6, 7 billion people, there really isn't a such thing as a norm. The way I feel, the way Soleil feel, the way James feel, the way anybody feels, it's going to differ. We'll all have some things in common, but we'll all be totally apart on different things. You know what? I've just learned, hey, I'm not always right about everything. My viewpoint is like very, very narrow when it comes to things that I haven't experienced. As I'm getting older, I have learned to, you know, expand my thought process. You know, whether I think something is right or wrong, you know what, that's my opinion. But I don't have the right to disrespect anybody. I definitely don't have the right to judge anybody because we all have our stories that we need to tell. You know what? Write your own story. It's your book from start to finish, and don't let anybody influence how you finish your book.
Slay, you referenced something as well that I want to bring up. Um, when is the right time to inform someone? And of course, it's going to vary. Someone that you met that you know, hey, I'm trans. When is the right time to have that conversation?
Yeah, I think what you said is true, that it really does vary. So for for me, I just try to be um, open and honest about it just from the jump. So I don't, I'm at the age where I'm not trying to waste my time. Not that I'm trying to jump into a relationship right away or get married again right away. But I'm not gonna, I don't want to waste a week or two or months talking to somebody, and then if they didn't know, now they know, and they want to bail. So I tell them right away, but you really do have to read the situation. Um, I'm just very hesitant on who I talk to. I ask specific questions because I don't really want to. Um, I'm not looking to date like somebody who's just a T word chaser. Um, I'm not looking to date somebody who is trying to make me like keep me as a secret. You know, I want to be flaunted. I deserve that. If I'm your girl or whatever. So, I'm just very, very cautious, but I usually just put it out there from the very beginning. Or if I sense that, this person that I'm talking to might go left, then okay, exit strategy to go right.
And would you say is the safest way to have that type of conversation as far as your own personal practice, as far as other people, what's their practice? What's the safest way? Over the phone, text message, email, or is it face to face? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it just really depends on the situation. So like on dating apps that I'm on, it's right there at the very beginning. And I know that people don't always look at the profile. They see a pretty picture and they'll swipe right on it and then they'll read later. But I try to at least put that out there first. And then when they contact me, I'll just mention it again. And out in public, at the grocery store, it's a public place. So, I've been approached and I would tell the person that, yeah, I'm trans, is that okay? And, it would go one way or the other, but it's a public place. So I felt safe. Um, it's never happened in a situation where I've been alone. So that's been good. But like in my case, like I am feet tall, right? I like to wear heels. I have heels on now. When I stand up, I'm going to be 6'4". So in a lot of cases, I may get clocked. And so they already know. Like, so it's not a big deal. But somebody, if I'm in a club or when the clubs were open, you know, talking to a club or talking to somebody in the club or whatever, well, there's people around. I still try to tell them up front and not let it get too far in, um, and waste each other's time.
I have a question. You've been married twice already. Do you think that you'll ever get married again?
I hope so. And I didn't think that at the beginning. But like I mentioned earlier, like none of my wives actually knew me. And so if there was someone out there who um, wanted to be on this journey with me, how can I deprive them of all this goodness right here? So yeah, I'm open to it. It'll take the right person because with me transitioning, my family has to transition with me. My friends are transitioning with me. My employer is transitioning. So this person needs to transition with me. They will have to be able to take what society gives them, what their family gives them, what their friends give them. And I know it can happen. I have friends who are in relationships and they're just fine. So it's not a unicorn, but it'll really take a special person. And I've gone on dates. I've dated someone. It didn't work out. I've liked people. Other people have liked me. Things just didn't work out. So, it's, people like me. So it's not an issue of being trans for a lot of people, but I really think that I just need to find the right person who really wants to be on this journey and that they're not in it for the experience or for the bucket list.
I'll say this, and I've shared this with you individually, Soleil. When you first shared with me that you were transitioning, a question I asked myself was, how does this change things? I didn't know. I've never had anyone share what you've shared with me before, so that was new for me. And what you said I think is so true. Your family, your friends, all your loved ones, they're transitioning with you. I think that's spot on. And what I ended up realizing, and it's coming up on 5 months now, that I've had the pleasure of getting to know Soleil. You're the same person. You're the same person, just much happier. Your likes have not changed. Your hobbies haven't changed, as far as I know. We're about to embark on another fantasy football season, as a matter of fact. And just to let you know, I'm not going to take it easy on you. I'm just saying, so, but I'm not taking it easy on you either. But no, you're the same person. I think that's something that people don't understand. Once again, it goes back to education. People are the same people. They may just have a different name. And that's really it. We're there's nothing has changed between you and I at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I would disagree. I think when I first started when I told my wife, I didn't want to lose my wife. I wanted to stay married to her. And I sort of justified by saying kind of what you said, like, I'm still the same person. All the things that you fell in love with, it's still there. Like, but there is a difference. Like, we still have the things that we do, but I am much more evolved. I just didn't show that to you because I didn't feel comfortable showing it to you when I was Ryan. At Soleil, I am more outgoing and talkative. I like to go dancing. I like to, I'm a foodie. I like to sing. Like these are things that I didn't really do before, like when we were hanging out. Like, I would go to the club. I'm very flirtatious, even though I may not be interested, but I like free drinks. So, I will flirt. But yeah, my interests and hobbies go beyond just sports and, fantasy and things like that. I feel a lot more connected to my female coworkers. We, did a girls' night out, and me and some other girls, we went to the MAC store, cosmetics, um, and just played in makeup or whatever. Like those are things that also complements those other things that you mentioned. So um, I want it to be the same, but I'm not the same. Soleil is much more evolved, and she's something better. Um, and one day, when this is all over, the virus and everything, we'll hang out. I'll probably hang out more with Shay than I hang out with you, and we'll spend some girl time together or whatever. And I know I have some stories up here about you doing something, so that she doesn't know about.
So in that case, y'all won't be hanging out.
I do have a picture of you sleeping somewhere, and for the life of me, I don't know why I would have a picture of you sleeping.
That's not creepy at all.
I think it was the slide that was probably running from his mouth.
I never spent the night over there. You never spent the night over my place. So I don't know why I have this picture, but
it might be a retreat, maybe.
Maybe, possibly.
DC, I don't. Did you do DC 2000? So
Yep.
it could have been there. Yeah. Matter of fact, me, you, and Stefan went to Columbus and spent the night. It could have been there.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember us doing that trip overnight. He captured us and took us to Columbus for the night.
Captured is a good word.
Yes, it is. Anyone knows Stefan definitely know what I'm speaking of. So one question I have, Soleil, and as we're coming close to an end here, how did you learn overall? And you've kind of alluded to this throughout our conversation here. How did you learn to present to the outside what you feel on the inside?
No. Well, yeah, like I think I'm a collection of all these women that I sort of admired and emulated, and how they carried themselves. And I think I'm just a expression of what I think my femininity is. I'm not trying to simulate. I'm not trying to be like Shay or with like my ex-wife or any other women. Like as a woman, this is my view of what a woman is. I'm just as much as a woman as they are. Different, yes, but this is just my expression. So it's lots of years of admiring different women. It's a lot of years of watching YouTube and Instagram and learning how to do my makeup and starting and getting better at it and formulating a different style with my clothes and whatnot. So it's taken a lot of time, but it's a combination of all those things.
Okay. So Eric, I know you have one more question. Why don't you go ahead? We'll let Soleil say any final thoughts you may have, and I want to end with one last question. So Eric.
Soleil, out of all of the names that you could have chosen, why Soleil?
Yeah, so good question. I think Soleil sort of describes my disposition a lot better than other names. I considered other names. I considered staying with Ryan and just changing my middle name to a more feminine name, Mariah, was one of the ideas that I tossed around. Ryan is a special name. My brother, the one that I'm closest to, and my mother, they came up with that name. Ryan's Hope was my mother's favorite soap opera, and so they went with that name. One of my brothers and my sister named both of their firstborns Ryan. So there was a a feeling of I really want to keep Ryan for that sake, because it's important to me. It's important to my niece and my nephew. But Soleil just fits my disposition better. Soleil in French means sun or sunny. I feel like that's my personality now. I'm able to really just let my personality shine. And so I think people see that. I've gotten complimented on that. Coworkers see that. And so it's fitting. And my middle name, Joy, is also French, means zest for living. And I think I have a lot of that too. Like, I really want to live now that I'm being myself, where, I mean, I wanted to live, period. Like, I don't want to die. But like, it's almost like everything I experience now is so new. Like, okay, doing a podcast is a big deal. Going out to a restaurant and, you know, having a date pull my chair back and let me sit down first, I get giddy over that. Like, that's a new experience for me, and it's beautiful. Going somewhere and somebody saying, yes, ma'am. I don't like ma'am, but I'll take it. But it's like little things like that. So it's almost like I'm experiencing life in another lens, right? And so, you know, that fits that zest for life. Like, any and everything I do for the rest of my life is going to be something new that I didn't experience as Ryan. So, yeah, that's the origin of those names.
You know what? I've got another question too, and I just thought about it. Do you remember the day that you decided to come out? And the reason why I'm asking about that, because it's like your birthday, the day that you decided. Yeah. Do you remember that day?
Yeah, March 5th, 2018.
Okay.
So, I wanted to get a tattoo. So I mentioned Samantha earlier, one of my friends. And there's another young lady named Brenna. So we used to talk, and when they got their birthdays, trans birthdays, tattooed right here on their wrist, and I want to do the same thing. I don't have any tattoos right now, but that is something that I want to do. Get it in Roman numerals, like right here on my wrist. But I remember the day very well, and yeah.
Okay. Thank you, James.
Yeah, well, Soleil, what do you have any final thoughts before I get to my final question?
Just final thoughts in general. Yeah, again, for the African American viewers, like there's gay, there's lesbian, there's trans people in your family. You have to love them. You have to support them. We're all that we have. This toxic masculinity is destroying our community. It's dividing us. It's driving people who could literally change the world away. And it's hard to come back from that. If there's anybody viewing this who has considered transitioning, maybe they're, you know, older in life, just go ahead and do it. Like, it will be okay. I have lost my wife, lost my home, I lost family and friends. There is a concern about employment. You know, if my job now is great, but if I move, like if I lost my job due to COVID or whatever, looking for another job. I've interviewed before at another place and I didn't get the job. And being trans is what I think is the reason why. So you will go through a lot of stuff, but there is a rainbow on the other side. There's no replacement in being true to yourself. Like, it definitely has been the greatest joy of my life to do this.
Awesome.
And I would also say, watch Denim. It's only 15 minutes. Watch a documentary called Disclosure on Netflix. It's an hour and a half, and it's really about how the media, particularly cinema, portrays trans people. And like I said, most people get their education from movies and TV shows. It was enlightening to me because there was many shows that I grew up with that I didn't make the connection about the trans piece. And now I'm kind of disgusted, like, wow, I really liked it. But it's a fascinating watch. And I hope that will educate people. And yeah, just do a Google search. Look on YouTube. There's trans people are here. We're everywhere. And just get some education. You're going to meet one. And yeah, just educate yourself.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And you kind of answered a portion of this, this final question. You've made it clear to me, and when we were talking about this episode, that you want to tell your story. You don't want to talk about transgender as a whole. You want to talk about your individual story. So I definitely appreciate that. But what would you like to say to that 4-year-old, that teenager, or a young adult who's struggling with their gender identification? What would you like to say to those individuals?
Yeah, to go ahead and just go for it. My regret, I've sort of buried it, but initially my regret was not doing this when I was younger. I wish I had the courage to step out and do this when I was 14 or 15. I'm insecure about my voice. The hormones isn't going to change your voice. But had I started early, it probably would have. Right? You know, there's limitations to what the hormones are going to do to me physically. I may need to get surgery to sort of augment some of the parts of my body that I want to stand out. But just go ahead and do it. Like, you only have one life to live. Be you, be happy, stay true to yourself, be authentic. You know, I'm a people pleaser by nature, and I think about what other people want before my own needs. And this is probably one of the only times in my life that I was truly selfish and doing something for me. And so I don't have any regrets, none, like none. And if you're thinking about it, no matter what age, just have that conversation with your parents if you're young, but just do it. You'll be happy, and everybody will be rewarded for it.
Well, Soleil, I really appreciate your openness, your honesty, just willing to do this show and talk about your story. It is my hope that, and I think I speak for Eric on this as well, that you have been able to not only touch someone and help them through their journey, but also educate other people who does not understand the journey, like many of us don't. You know, and I hope that you've been able to touch at least one person. You know, I will say I have a challenge for you. One thing that you've look at her, she's what is this challenge? But you've spoken about being courageous, you know, and once again, you've been bold and all that good stuff. You said something tonight that I didn't know about you, so I have a challenge for you. In a few episodes, Eric and I are doing a talent show. and you said you like to sing. So why don't you throw your name in that hat and come on and be a singer?
I like to sing. That doesn't mean that I can sing.
Well, the invitation's there if you want it. You know, you can come on and have your moment on the stage.
I'm straight.
All right.
But I will be watching. I will watch. But yeah, I'm not singing. If it was karaoke, like I did karaoke a few weeks ago, I would do it, but nah.
Did you have to have liquid courage to go along with it?
I had a couple pops. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. Eric, you have any final words?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you for being on the show, and definitely thank you for sharing your story.
Definitely. Well, Soleil, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Eric, I got to say it again, man. The folks did not hear it from our mouths. They heard it from Soleil's mouth to your ears, listeners. Hope you really got something out of it. Thank you once again, Soleil. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Stay safe, America.